And we're here with Rob Stuart. He's a skin health expert, eczema coach, YouTuber, jack of all trades, and also a generalist. Rob, welcome to the Optimal Performance Podcast.
Sean, thanks so much for having me, man. And I'm stoked that you put the generalist part in there because I think that might be something cool to talk about as we journey into this conversation today.
Excellent. I like to start with the first question for everybody, which is especially relevant for people in nutrition, natural health, and wellness, which is what time is it where you are in the world and what have you put into your body?
Nice. It's 12:45. I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, right in the middle of the heartland. And what I've put into my body so far today has been 2 ounces of raw pastured cream with a little matcha green tea. And I've had two raw egg yolks and 5 ounces of chicken. So that's where I'm at so far today. And I just got done eating. So I had my first real meal probably about 12 o'clock, about noon, which
A-
is pretty typical for me.
any supplements?
I don't really do a lot of supplementation. I've found that for me, and I think too for a lot of the skin health community that I deal with, even really high quality supplements can just be more challenging for us to get the information from that we need. There's always exceptions to the rule. I like a lot of the heartland stuff, the liver and heart and kidney and things like that. And I'm always kind of open to trying things and being the guinea pig for my community. But as of right now, I look at egg yolks as my supplement.
I'll be honest. Since I started watching your content on Instagram, and let me, for people who are not watching on YouTube, who are just listening, I invite you to go check out the Optimal Performance Podcast on YouTube, and also check out just up front, Rob. Give them the name of your YouTube channel.
It's just my name, Rob Stewart, Robstuart, spelled the Scottish way, not English way. And if you just pop on YouTube, that's pretty easy to find.
I was compelled to start guzzling down egg yolks, raw egg yolks after. I mean, I've heard it from the bodybuilding community, way back. My crazy cousin would just be slamming 12 raw egg yolks a day, and but watching you do it, I have chickens here at my house, and so I especially do it in front of my kids. The chicken laid an egg 15 minutes ago, and I go out and I suck it down, let them eat the whites, just drop the egg so that they can get in and eat it. Your content is so awesome, and your transformation is so awesome. There is one picture that is so striking. There's a picture of you where your beard is not as full, and you have really like full coverage eczema on your face. Or was it psoriasis?
I had multiple diagnoses on my face. It was mostly sebderm and eczema, and the psoriasis was mostly on my scalp.
Yeah, the before and after photo of not only your physique but the quality of your skin. I mean, you freaking glow, dude. And
Thanks.
and watching you, with your six pack and your books and your face creams and your Braunschweiger is like, I gotta talk to this guy because I think he's onto a lot of cool things that I'm into. So I guess let's start with sort of your origin story. You're N of one biohacker. How did you get to be an expert in skin health?
Because first I was a failure with skin health, and I'm kind of a stubborn person. I'm tenacious. I think those are probably some of my better attributes as a human. Is I don't give up, and I'm not afraid to take a truthful moral inventory. So I grew up in San Diego. I was an athlete. It came from a really athletic family. I played Division I baseball at the University of Utah, and after that, I was in a place where my age caught up to me a bit, where I could eat whatever I want my whole life and not really get out of shape. I would be slightly in shape all the time, no matter what. But I ate like crap, and I partied in a crazy way too often, and by my mid 20s, my eczema was coming to a place where it was systemic, like really systemic, kind of like the picture you saw, which by the way, that picture was taken when I was 27 or 28 years old. I looked 50 in that picture.
Mm.
It was crazy. I had, a big missing patch of beard, just bad. And so little by little throughout the years, my eczema and dermatitis and psoriasis went from basically a little bit on my sternum and some on my face here and there, and then my scalp, mostly as a kid, to being most places in my body, the crooks of all my joints behind my knees, elbows. And as a 20 something year old, man, it was pretty devastating, feeling like a leper, really. Self-esteem, depression. Um, it was horrible, and of course I was trying to go the Western medical route,
Mm.
going to see my dermatologist, going to see my doctors, and really quickly understood that this is not helping and this is not the solution. And they're just pumping drugs at me. And also the narrative for Western medicine is that there is no cure, no such thing as a cure for most autoimmune diseases, and definitely not eczema. That you're told blatantly right to your face, diet has nothing to do with it. You can't heal it. And your only form of really freedom is going to be to constantly use different drugs and different combinations to, address the symptoms and try to keep the symptoms as managed as possible. And managing symptoms to me sounded like a crock of crap.
Mm.
Like it was kind of like, okay, challenge accepted, adios, and kind of went the far opposite way. I started getting into meditation and Ayurveda and yoga therapy and lyrical dance and all sorts of just counterculture healing modalities. And through a long process of trying different things, I kind of figured out a path. And the year that I healed my skin, I really found that if I customize my diet and I learn what trigger foods are making this happen, and I do some gentle, easy cleansing and detoxification practices, and I really get my emotional body, my spiritual life, my stress, my day-to-day habits in order, I felt in my heart that I could overcome this thing. And a year later, I was eczema free, dermatitis free, psoriasis free, in pretty good shape for myself. I was a little lean and thin because I had really I was at that time plant based, and so my body, I'm Scandinavian, my body needs my body needs animal fats and proteins. But at that time, that's what I knew, and that's what I was learning, and that's what was working. So it brought me to a place where at least my skin was healthy. And I think then fast forward 4 years after that, then I kind of had to rescue myself from veganism and the plant-based diet. But that's kind of a whole nother story as well. So I was really sick, and then figured things out on my own, and then started sharing my path. And it just snowballed. The more I shared, the more people reached out and asked for help. And the more I helped people, the more data I got that kind of fell in alignment with what I was already doing with myself. And lo and behold, 9 years later, I have a pretty good community that I've built on social media with people trying to heal their skin, and coach full time and make content full time. So it's just been kind of a very natural, organic progression.
Awesome. Yeah. Before we turned the microphones on, we were sort of sharing just hobbies and things that we liked. And what you said to me was like, I did not expect to be a content creator, YouTuber. But obviously when you are sharing information that really resonates with people, and they're asking for help, and they're getting results, and they're activating and changing their lives, there's obviously that motivation to just keep it cooking and help people. Which brings me to this question is like, how pervasive are skin issues for people based on, you don't have to quote data, of course, but I myself have had skin issues. I think how common is eczema, psoriasis, like, is it a big deal for a lot of people?
1 in 4 people in the United States and worldwide have some form of eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, or rosacea. Now, the percentage of those people who it becomes like systemic and, basically shuts your life down, probably only about 20% of those people get to the place that I was at. So it's kind of like the old adage where the gene is the bullet and the lifestyle and your food is the trigger. And so there's a lot of people that can, like my mom, for example, she will get a little bit of stuff right here on her nose. The doctor called it rosacea. The doctors don't normally get that diagnosis too correct, and she can easily just get back into the healthy eating and it goes away like that. There's quite a lot of people like that. But for those people who suffered the way I did, it's pretty all consuming. I mean, it keeps you from being able to move your body. Sometimes you have to fight constant infections. Everything's uncomfortable. It's like a constant all day drive you crazy itch to the point where many people will just itch their arms or their scalp or their triggered areas till they bleed. So it's a pretty gnarly disease, and it's pretty common as well.
Let's break apart some terms here because I think it will help sort of bring some context for what people may be experiencing. What are the differences between eczema, psoriasis, and rosacea?
Good question. So I don't differentiate them a whole lot. Generally, the symptoms look slightly different, where eczema is kind of the more all-encompassing. A lot of times people will have psoriasis, they'll be diagnosed as eczema. So eczema basically can come in forms of red, patchy inflammation of the skin, itchiness, flakiness, and what we call scaling, which are like little circular, weird pieces of skin that just kind of flake, and then you scratch them off, and then they're like a red open wound, and then they go away, and then they come back. Psoriasis generally is a little bit more plaque oriented, where big areas will almost be like a grayish scab that's just there all the time. And it goes through different times, different cycles where it flares worse and flares less. Rosacea is commonly on the face, and it just looks like a really red, sometimes a little bit white-headed, pimply type of constant overly redness. And all three of them have similar attributes as far as sensitive to being infected really easily, can flare up from all sorts of different things, itch, bleed, ooze. It can be pretty nasty. It's a very common thing for people with skin disease to wake up in the morning and go through a routine of like changing their pillowcase and their sheets because there's scabs and dead skin and blood, and it's pretty gnarly sometimes.
Man, I'm just feeling for those folks that are dealing with that. And the obvious sort of missteps are antibiotics, right? I mean, antibiotics kill the gut flora and undo any progress that you might have been having. I mean, like how frequently does someone say, "Hey Rob, I've got this thing," and I don't mean to make light of this, but I can just picture what some of your text messages look like from people just sending you pictures of their skin and being like, "What is this? How do I get rid of it? I just got done with antibiotics and it got way worse." Like, right? I mean,
yeah,
how common is that?
It's very common. Luckily, I try to pride myself at being a very like clear communicator, and generally when people start to go through the process of reaching out to get coaching, I tell them, don't send me pictures. I don't need to see anything. I'm not going to give you a diagnosis. Like I'll do an intake with you where I'll learn about your biomarkers and your history, and that will tell me everything that I need to know. But I a lot of times don't even want to see what it looks like, because I also don't want to have any type of like, ooh, that's really bad, or oh, that's not that. That's an easy one, because it's just for the person going through it. It's traumatic and it's hell, whether it's little or big compared to other people. But yeah, I do have, my favorite thing is when I finally get those testimonials from people that I've worked with and they show me the before and after. And the before pictures, man, my website, I have a whole testimony page, and it's like, there's so many of them on there, and all of them are like jaw dropping. There's some of them on there that are so absolutely like myself, just so night and day different. And generally what you see is people end up looking way more fit and a lot younger, because the skin really ages you, and it's really a true reflection of somebody's, inner health, in a certain way.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking at the photos right now, and it's just, I mean, some of these images are staggering. I just feel so terrible for some of these folks that have to deal with this day in and day out, and don't have answers, and their doctors are failing them. I mean, so yeah, I mean, I just for 2 seconds, I just looked at the testimonials, and it's incredible. It's so inspiring.
Yeah, they're amazing. I think too, kind of what was coming up as you were saying that is there's such a profound, it's a physical element for sure. You're dealing with the surface of your skin, but the biggest part of healing, the biggest challenge, and the biggest aspect that creates the most suffering is the psychological component of it. That is the hardest thing to learn to manage and to deal with, and the expectations of healing. And a lot of people we're normal people. We want things to happen in 30 days or in 2 months. And the reality is like, if you have this disease or this autoimmune issue, you're going to have to become a whole new person to heal it, period. Every aspect of you has to become something that you're not right now. And it's different for everybody. But for me, that meant becoming disciplined, becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable, understanding that I have to have a marathon approach and an investor mentality in life, and not the quick fix. The quick fix is the fastest path to make your healing timeline way harder and way longer. So I really spend a lot of time with my clients, working on the mental space, as much as, what we're eating and the cleanses and the physical activity that we have to do.
Yeah, yeah, that's I totally get that. Yeah. In order to be who you want to be, it's going to look a lot different than where you're at right now, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, habits, lifestyle, like how you talk to yourself. All of that stuff is so critical. And it's hard because you get stuck in these grooves, and it's challenging to get out of that groove and find a new one that actually serves you. And at the same time, I imagine that when someone goes through these processes and actually sees change, like, oh, this is getting better, this doesn't itch, this is going away, I have more confidence. That confidence begets more confidence, smarter choices, some more organ meats and some more stretching and more hugs, right?
100%. I tell this to people all the time, and some people look at me like, dude, you're a sociopath or something, or masochistic. And I'm like, no, like the best thing that happened to me in my entire life was hitting a place where my body was full of skin disease. Because if I didn't go through that, I hope maybe I would have found a different path that would have been healthy, or addressed myself in a different way. But that suffering taught me everything in life that I know now, and is literally responsible for all of the goodness that is in my life, all the abundance, the knowledge, the wisdom, the experience, the social circles, even, the condo that I own, and the people that are around me. It all came from that suffering. And what I learned, if you can heal skin disease, you can manage giant companies, you can make a lot of money in life, you can have an extremely fit body, because it's the same habits and it's the same skill set that allows you to heal your skin, allows you to do everything else in life. And it's the old 1940s, what my grandma and grandpa used to harp on me. It's the basics. It's putting in a 15-hour workday. It's consistency. It's truthfulness. It's honesty. It's outworking your competitors. It's being super honest with your moral inventory. And those things are so cliche and generic, but they're where the magic is. And I didn't have those abilities, pre skin disease. I was a good person. I tried hard at things, but even with my baseball career and in college academics, I didn't work hard for anything. And consistency and diligence in life it was a joke. It was all about pleasure seeking and avoidance, and kind of the hidden traps that can really mess everyone up.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's That's true. The 2 generations ago, for sure. My grandparents too. They were just built a little different, and that mentality around show up, do the right thing, look people in the eye, do what you say you're gonna do, be consistent, don't peter out, like that stuff. That's really important these days, man. I want to go back to something that you said that I thought was kind of interesting was, when it comes to a lot of the skin issues, is that genetics are the bullet and lifestyle is the trigger, and that is interesting to me because I'm curious about sort of the origins, right? And we know that the skin is an outward expression of what's going on inside our body. Like the skin doesn't lie, right? like,
Yeah,
and
correct.
and so but I'm really curious about where the origins of these issues that 25% of us are dealing with, and I'm included there. Something that I'm working through now is where does it really come from? Like, explain the genetic component that the lifestyle component that how is it tied to our autoimmune system? Please.
Yeah, so I think that eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, rosacea, skin disease is a modern disease. But I would also put cancer and diabetes as modern diseases. If you really study traditional cultures and tribal cultures, they died from falling off cliffs and broken bones and weird infections from an alligator attack in old age, and very rarely had diseases that killed them. Maybe a virus that maybe came from an animal or something strange, but it wasn't like heart disease and cancer and diabetes and skin disease. So I think that the origins come from really the environments that we live in and the food supply, the environmental stressors. We're so out of touch with what's natural. And I think that anyone who's our parents' age, and even our grandparents' age, there's no hiding from environmental stressors and environmental toxins. Even if you eat really clean on paper, on this day and age, eating clean on paper, I know plenty of people who are paleo or they're plant-based or they're carnivores or they're ketos, and they come to me and say, hey, I just want to run my diet by you a little bit. What do you think of this? And I have to actually go like, okay, well, what specific autoimmune issue are you dealing with? And based on that, certain food groups that are healthy are an absolute no. You can't have those. And it's not that any food group, whole food, real food, is bad. It's that we don't have any real food.
Yeah.
And I think that's what brought me to basically being a carnivore, is that the only real food that's available into the market is pastured animal products. Like your fruit is not the same fruit. None of it's heirloom. It's all GMO. Vegetables are even worse because of their anti-nutrients and their plant toxins. So you have to be so careful. So our food supply is really messed up. It's very unnatural. It's filled with chemicals and hormones and all sorts of crap. Our water supplies aren't good. Our whole attitude towards life and work as a society is messed up. Most people work 9-to-5 jobs for someone else that they don't like, to buy stuff that they don't need so that they can go home and watch other people's lives on a glowing screen. And that's considered normal. To me, that's not normal. That's not what humans are here for. Like, gone are the days of babies sleeping with their moms the way that all families did in tribal and traditional societies. That's shunned upon. And I guess you could take it back to British colonialism, really, and them pushing certain strange, unnatural things on everyone who they start occupying. So I think it's a multitude of different things. It's holistic. And I don't think you can blame our human genes for as much as you can all the other crap. But I think also there's good news. There's nature still out there, and you can source good food if you try, and you don't have to do what everyone else is doing. And kind of to piggyback off our last point, the generic stuff that your grandparents teach you, like work hard and show up and be a man of your word, and it's like, those things are magical because when you do them enough, you understand that there's so much freedom in life. You don't have the baggage. You don't have the emotional poison. You're You're being impeccable with your word. You're not making assumptions. You don't have unreal expectations. You're living more in the moment. You're into the work. You're into the playing of the guitar. You're into the helping the person or planting your crops or homesteading or being with people rather than kind of like being a cog in this machine.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you adjust your lifestyle to optimize for honesty and hard work, consistency, self-expression, then the magic happens. Then you start sleeping better, and then you make better relationships, and oh my gosh, your physique improves and your skin clears and all this stuff, right?
Totally. And then that TV show that you enjoy is actually enjoyable. You're not preoccupied. You know, it's like every once in a while, and I actually did this last weekend on Sunday. I played golf with my pop on Saturday, and my Saturday was like an activity day where I probably had, no joke, 18 hours of pretty good movement. Like I didn't sleep much. I was up at 4, was at the gym at 4:30. I went on several walks, and then I played 18 holes, and it was slow golf, so it was like 5 hours on the course. Then I came home, and I was just a little bit bored, so I did another workout, rode my bike, walked my friend's dog, and then it was like 9 o'clock at night. And the next day I was like, I'm just gonna chill today. Like I'm just gonna watch TV, and like I'm not gonna do content. I'm not gonna answer emails. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna like chill, and I'm just gonna enjoy. It was so unenjoyable. Like 2 hours into watching TV, I felt anxious. I felt stressed, and it wasn't because I'm type A and I need to be doing something. It's the fact that I don't think our bodies are really just built for that. Sitting on a couch in a weird position, watching this glowing screen and like being bombarded with advertisements, it wasn't as rewarding as sitting in a golf cart with my pop talking about philosophy and how Nebraska Cornhuskers are going to be in football this year and homesteading. And it's like being out in the world and doing stuff for me is just so rich. And it's just more fun. It was like such a realization in life that, oh, like smoking pot and video games and like kind of checking out, like is only cool for about 15 minutes. And then it becomes really monotonous and kind of horrible.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and all of those external stimuli are specifically crafted to keep you on them, you know, from a potato chip to a video game to the colors and the sounds on the screens. It's all designed specifically to fire your dopamine receptors so that you want a little more and a little more and a little more, and fucking 6 hours go by and your back hurts because you've been sitting in a weird posture watching stupid stuff, you know.
And you're like confused because you're like, you know, I went to work and did what I have to do, and then I watched TV and chilled like normal people all week. And I really enjoyed that show, but why can't I sleep? Why am I anxious? Why am I comparing myself to everyone constantly? Why am I craving Big Macs all day? Why, you know, like it's exactly what you said. The manufacturers of marketing and, you know, algorithms and very, very intelligent people when it comes to human psychology and behavioral science. I mean, they're genius.
Yeah.
Evil genius.
Yeah, for sure. You know, one thing an idea, are you familiar with the term biohacking? Is that kind of like in your, yeah.
Definitely.
So the way that I like to define that is taking a look and optimizing what goes in you, on you, and around you. And one of the points that you made earlier was, you know, even if you're eating really clean, you're still exposed to external forces, things that are going on to your skin. You could eat really clean and just be crushing your hormones with plastic. You know, you could eat really clean and not be exposed to plastic, but you're just like cooking yourself with EMFs all day long because you have dirty electricity and your friggin' adrenals are fried. And so I would love to hear your idea of whether or not that resonates with you, and how the skin, especially with the in you, on you, around you idea, how that's impacted.
Yeah, no, I resonate with that 100%. And those of us who have the skin disease, that's at another level. So for example, you could be loving your job, surrounded by wonderful people, have a great social connection, loving relationships, supportive, be making art in some creative fashion, kind of satisfying that, working out enough, like having everything in order, right? Everything is good. And then you jump in your shower and you grab Axe body wash and you wash your whole body with it. And guess what? Now you're fucked. Now you've just poisoned yourself in your biggest filtration organ. And it's like, it sounds kind of scary for a lot of people. Like you have to go that far where, yeah, like if you were to look at my, household cleaners and in my shower, all of it is stuff that not all my household cleaners, but everything else that I put on my body, I might not want to eat it, but I could. And it's definitely natural and for sensitive skin and hypoallergenic and chemical and dye and perfume free. And the place that people really are challenged sometimes is even, oh, well, I'm doing all that. Okay. How about your stuff you wash your clothes with, your detergent? Oh, I just use Tide Ultra Bleach. It's like, okay, let's just take a little look at that. So your clothes are made of these materials that are like sponges, and you're washing your clothes in harsh, dangerous chemicals. Then you're wearing those clothes and laying on your bed in the sheets and laying on all of these things when you're not wearing these clothes, or even when you're wearing these clothes. And nonstop, you now have Tide Ultra Bleach and all the chemicals leaching into your skin at all times, 24 hours a day. When you break it down that way to people, it's like, okay, that's kind of obvious, but it's not obvious to everybody. And so for a biohacking 101, definitely environmental control, but also like self-care control, in all aspects. I tend to try to stay away from, I think the gnarliest thing that's around my house is Simple Green. That's what I use to clean. And even that, I'm kind of like, this is a little gnarly, but hey, it stays in the pantry deep at the bottom and only for tough stains, right?
Sure.
Everything else is like, it's not going to harm me. Laundry detergent, my deodorant, toothpaste. I don't use hair care products. I'm bald on top, so there's not much there to work with. But all I use on my beard is like tallow or coconut oil or jojoba oil or all natural stuff. My deodorant's aluminum free. It's natural stuff. I use Dr. Bronner's to wash my body. Basic, really easy stuff, and I try to keep it as minimal as possible.
What scent Dr. Bronner's kind of guy? Let me guess. You're a purist. So you're not doing lavender. You're not doing like grapefruit. You're the blue bottle.
You nailed it. I've been the blue bottle guy, which is either almond or unscented. One's blue and one's green. The unscented baby is the light blue one. That one has a permanent spot in my bathroom. Lately, though, I was at Target and I saw that they had a new flavor that was rose. And I've always loved, like the rose water spray.
Sure.
Like, man, that when I was going through heavy flare-ups would really cool me down. And I had a partner one time, actually, when I lived in Shasta, who was like the beautiful witch. Like she had all these potions and she used to put rose petals, like you see in movies, in my bath. And I was kind of like, super romantic, babe, but like covered in eczema right now. Like this isn't really going to work. But it like what it did to the bath was amazing. So I have that anytime I can get rose.
Nice.
I do. So lately, the last 2 weeks, it's been actually the new rose line, which has been nice.
I gotta check that out. Yeah, it's nice to mix it up a little bit. Yeah, the products thing is like there's a whole episode in the product choices that people make, and I think a lot of people kind of get overwhelmed thinking, oh my God, I got to totally overhaul my diet. I've got to totally overhaul all this stuff. And also, take a look at what my bed is made out of, because holy shit, it's been off-gassing for 3 months and I can still kind of smell it. My pillow is, memory foam, and I love it. It's really comfortable, but I'm just burying my face in toxins all night. Like, I think it's overwhelming to people, but you don't have to do it all in one day, right? I mean, like, maybe this is a good kind of kind of opportunity to talk a little bit about your process. You know, when someone says, "Hey, man, like I'm out of solutions," you know, the guidance that I've been getting to take care of my skin is failing, nothing's working, I'm stressed out. Like, Rob, please help, please help. How does your process work, and maybe weave in sort of like taking a look at what products people are using?
That's a good question. So I really try to have the motto of FTF, first things first. You know, I'm a behavioral science yoga therapist background, so I try to make things very practical in behavior modification. And it's pretty well known that not everyone does even okay with doing all things at once. Most humans don't. We do a little bit better with like, let's have a hyper focus on one thing and then start dabbling in other things. And then once that hyper focus is a pretty habitual, then let's master other stuff one by one. And what happens there is as you're mastering the first one, that same skill set allows you to kind of start to take control of the other stuff pretty quickly, which is cool. But there is kind of a system. We first got to look at your diet. Diet's number one. The two most basic things and the most powerful things are your diet and how much you're moving your body and exercising. Those are going to affect the most systems the most. Then from there, teaching people how to gently cleanse is really easy because it's just a matter of doing stuff. You know, okay, I have to do a salt flush, or I'm going to do a coffee enema, or I'm going to do the liver gallbladder flush. It's a little ritual. I do it, I'm done. And I don't have to do it for a couple days or a couple weeks or a couple months. So starting with diet and exercise and movement and really getting those nailed in. Some people, we have to just start with diet. And even within the diet, sometimes we just have to say, okay, we're just going to take away those two foods first. And then once we have that down, you know, sometimes you have to have baby steps. Okay, all we're doing for a month is having a healthy breakfast. That's it. That's the only skill set that you have to worry about for a whole first month of coaching. Okay, we get that nailed, and the fallout's always glorious from that. Then we might go, okay, now we're going to go all day. We're going to try to do all day eating clean. Okay, that's our next skill that we're going to try to accomplish. And you just stack little wins on top of little wins. It's much like, you know, in investing or making money or starting a business. You don't really think you're going to start a business and turn a profit in the first month or two or 6 months or sometimes even the first year. But if you keep doing the little steps, then in time, the snowball effect happens. And it's like all of a sudden, it's like really monumental. For some people, telling them, hey, go buy new deodorant, go buy new soap, go buy new laundry detergent, that's not a trigger. It's just like, okay, what should I get? Just get this. Okay, cool. And next time they go to Target or Costco or wherever they shop, it's done. Other people, they're like married to like, oh, wait a second. Like I really like these products are helping me. I need them. And so we have to take our time a little bit more with people like that. So I don't want to sound too, everything has to be customized and everything's super personal, but the behavior change model, you really do have to meet people with what they're willing to do first and try to tackle the biggest things first, diet and exercise.
You know, it does have to be customized. It does. And we're learning that now more than ever, that the Western allopathic approach to, you know, diagnose and prescribe, it's just not working. It's just not working. And it's making people sicker. And it's, you know, we don't have to go down the dark world of coronavirus. I've gone there before. And anyway, but the key is that it is custom to you. And it's not just custom to you. It's custom to where you are in this moment. It's
right.
And it's custom to how much sleep you got and how much sleep you're getting and tendencies. And the specificity it's getting easier and easier for people to track. You know, you can use Inside Tracker and get blood work done and understand which foods are going to be best for you. You can get some accountability there too. You can wear a Whoop strap or a Fitbit or an Oura ring to like track your biometrics to say like, okay, well, my sleep is terrible. So you can quantify just enough, not more than you need, because who gives a shit if you got 12,000 steps today? Like, that's great, but if it's not part of like if it's not a part of a sort of a goal or an improvement process, then it's just pissing in the wind. But the fact is that we now more than ever before can customize to ourselves. We can get the tests done. You can go get a DEXA scan. You can get blood work and stools and all that stuff tested. Just figure out where you are and then start to make incremental changes. And so like, it is custom, and thank goodness, because that is the future of medicine, in my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that somewhere, and it's funny, this is coming up a lot in our conversation, but in about 1945 to 1955 was the end of the golden era of allopathic medicine. So if you look back at those days, you had a family physician, and it was literally a family physician. You'd say, little Bobby's sick, can you come over? And he would come to your house with a black bag, and he would look at what he ate, what he's been doing, what he's into. And the first thing is, okay, let's have him eat these foods and try to get some extra recovery and sleep. And then let's see if that takes care of the situation. And then if things don't, get better on their own, then we'll go to step 2, which might be aspirin, or it might be a tea, or might be something a little bit more holistic. And then if that doesn't work, okay, let me go into my bag of tricks, and oh, this might be something more serious. Now we might have to do a surgery, or we might have to do a corrective thing, or we might have to use a medication. But it was last resort. The doctors were social service people, not businessmen. And they were scientists. And I don't believe I get in trouble for saying this because I'm in the science world and I have a lot of scientist friends. I don't believe there's any scientists anymore. I believe there's marketers. And I feel the same way about academia. There's no teachers anymore. There's marketers. And what I mean by that more specifically is, back in the day, there was no money in doing research. It was purely for the fact of, I'm so interested in seeing how this mechanism works that I'm going to pull it apart and show everyone the results of putting it back together, and maybe we can learn something from it. And that's kind of the basis of all science. And at some time, the meshing of big corporations and the pharmaceutical companies and the medical industry married and are so deep in this place with each other now that we haven't evolved. If you break your arm, or if you need a surgery, like, that's where medicine to me is, wow, mind-bogglingly beautiful. But if you're sick, or if you have an autoimmune issue, the last place I'd ever go to is see a doctor.
Totally. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. Yeah, there's just paid, marketers, paid researchers, right? Bought and paid for and sold down the river. And now it's because of the Google Panda updates, restrictions, you're hosed. So you can't even find good information. You can't even find quality resources online. Even if you're using DuckDuckGo, forget about trying to find useful health information on Google. It's not, you cannot rely on Google anymore to find quality, natural health. It's literally bastardized. It's now, I don't know if you or your traffic were affected by having the word natural health or holistic or integrated health on your websites or on your YouTube, but it sounds tinfoil hat, but the fact is that there is shit going on that we don't really see, and that's why you're met with ads for prescription drugs when you're looking for skin healing techniques.
100%. When I first started using the internet to try to figure out what the heck was going on with myself, pop onto YouTube, pop onto Google, especially YouTube, and look up eczema diet. There wasn't one video. There's nothing. Eczema coach, no such word. Like, I was the first guy who branded myself as, okay, I'm coaching people in this. Now, if you go onto YouTube and you just put in eczema diet, you're going to see literally 500 people to 1,000 people who have ebooks and call themselves coaches, who aren't cured or healed from skin disease, but they have seen that, oh, you can make money doing this. And so that's what I want to have a platform. I want to be on YouTube, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it is I tell people, like, there's nothing wrong with sharing your journey, but once you turn into someone marketing something that you're not, you're my enemy. And luckily, I'm not one of those YouTube channels. I could spend all day, every day, doing response videos and making videos about my industry, and I don't want to do that, but part of me kind of wants to do that sometimes because it has gotten so disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you know a little bit, but you're a slick marketer, man, it's a dangerous combination. Same thing with, I'm a coach too. And, when you see, you and I can sniff them out pretty quickly, but there's lots of people selling ebooks and online courses that are really well marketed, that sound great, that are terrible, from people that just have almost no experience in coaching and actually helping people. Real people in real life. They just they package something really nicely. Yeah, I'm with you on that. That's a tricky one. I would love for you to define generalist for me. How do you think of that?
So I stole that term from, I don't know if you know who Edu Pertal is.
Yeah.
He's, for those who don't know, he calls himself a movement generalist. And a generalist is just the opposite of basically like a specialist. Like Western medicine, allopathic medicine, the medical industry, all is specialization. It's all of these specialized, very narrow scoped things that you are really great at. And it comes from sport and movement. So Edu Pertal wants to be decent at everything: handstands, boxing, sprinting, lizard crawling, floria, gymnastics rings, every single thing. Anything movement oriented, he's a generalist with. He can really do it at a high level. Now, can he take things as far as people who specialize? No. But does being a generalist allow you for a greater knowledge bank and a deeper life experience? And for me, it kind of, I bought into that pretty hard. And it works really well with being holistic, with helping people with their skin, where if all that I ever studied, if I was a keto specialist, then all I know is what fats to give people and how to manipulate their macros. And I wouldn't understand the psychology behind behavior change, or the fact that if someone hangs from a bar all day, it might help their gut health. It's like, and those are the things that actually really matter. So the definition of being specialized means that you have less knowledge about most things than other people. And it means you have more knowledge about one thing than other people. I don't really have an interest in that. I thought at certain times in my life that I did. I guess in my past life, you could call me a specialist in baseball. At one point, I wanted to be a specialist in producing music, but even limiting myself to just those things would never have allowed me to be a well-rounded entrepreneur, business owner, coach, cultural creative, content creator, just someone who I would like to be friends with. And nothing's wrong with being a specialist. I want to back up.
Sure.
But for me, what really gets me off is like, hey, like I can go to some random studio and play drums and guitar and jam with people. I'm not that great, but I can play some songs and jam. I've been in bands, but I never specialized in it. Or I can go hang out with my retired dad, who is in the Marines and was a lawyer for the U.S. government for crazy amount of times, and hang out with his group of friends and talk politics and talk nuance of, business structures and military. I just think that generalism is a term that just means you never spend all your life only doing one thing, and you kind of get adequate at something and then go get adequate at something else.
Yeah, I love that. And that totally resonates with me. And it takes courage to do that, because once you're known as the X guy or gal, once you develop a reputation as a type of person who has this certain area of expertise, you cling pretty tightly to that. I was the float guy. I started float centers in Seattle and built really cool businesses that were really, really popular, and reached a point where I was like, I don't want to. It's time to move on. It's time to move into coaching and really focus on coaching and podcasting. And I'm doing it again. Building a wellness platform that's going to disrupt the medical paradigm. And I like that. I dig that. It's interesting to me. Keeps me sharp. Keeps me motivated. Keeps me on point. I just have to go back. Did you say hang from a bar to improve gut health?
Yeah, so
I couldn't.
I'm glad you circled back to that, because I threw that out there knowing kind of that people would be like,
"Ooh,
okay, the generalist thing, okay, whatever." So there's two things that humans can do. Again, this is something I stole from Ido Portal as well. Give him full credit for this, for teaching me this. Is as primates, and whatever you think we came from, a starship or monkeys or apes or other primates, whatever. We have a lot in common with primates, for sure. And one thing that we've noticed is that we have lost the ability. No one just hangs from a bar. Put a kid on monkey bars, like a 10-year-old girl, and she will stay on those monkey bars just hanging there way longer than bodybuilders.
Yeah.
I mean, it's truthful, and it's a skill set that does a couple things. When you hang, it drastically affects your central nervous system. So the direct correlation to your CNS is your hand strength and your hands. So when an athlete's overtraining, the easy way to figure it out is, okay, go put his 5 rep max on a deadlift and have him just hold it, and it'll drop out of their hands like that. And when you're CNS and when you're not overtrained, you just hold that sucker, no problem. So when you hang, it elongates the spine. It also brings your shoulders back into position where they need to be. Mm-hmm. It also creates a closed circuit connective chain with your central nervous system in your hands. And so it's firing all of these different things. And then you combine that with the Thai squat or the deep squat, just resting in a squat position, which most people can't even do, which 10 years ago, I couldn't, no chance, put my heels on the ground and squat like a tribal person. Or like, I had one of my best friends growing up was Filipino, and like I would look in the backyard and his family would be hanging around the fireplace, squatting the position, both heels on the ground, just chilling, eating their food, enjoying each other. And I always like, dude, that's so cool. I just can't do it. I don't, these big Scandinavian knees, and it doesn't work. But it actually, at an early age, I'd already lost the ability to squat because sitting in chairs and overuse. So as you start to regain natural things like an elongated spine and a nice posture and the right pelvic floor tilt and the ability to pool your blood and then release your blood in a squat position, everything affects everything else. It's like when you're pulling on the bottom of your shirt, this is moving right here. Like I can feel it. And so as your spine gets better, as your posture gets better, as your pelvic floor health improves, as your knees improve, as your ankles open up, that's drastically affecting your digestion, drastically. So something that I have every client do is hang. Awesome. Or first we start with we got to do the Thai squat every day. And if you have to start by hanging onto something so you don't fall over, perfectly fine. We'll work our way to being able to comfortably Thai squat in probably 90 days or less for almost everybody. And it's a really neat thing to see someone who, like where I was at, where you can't do it, and then you're able to really relax and just sit there and do it. It's kind of like, oh man, the body's very malleable, and it has a really powerful re-recognizing what it's supposed to be when you give it the right stimuli. And so that, I mean, in a roundabout way, that's what I meant. Like by hanging, you can actually improve your digestion.
That's awesome. What other sort of tricks do you have? I imagine that you're an encyclopedia for this kind of stuff. Maybe to keep it on. I mean, obviously digestion is tied to the skin, but what other sorts of techniques, hidden gems, hacks are there for, and hack is such a loaded term because some people are like, no, you can't hack your sleep because that there's no, you can't. And I get it. I get the nuance, and some people have a negative connotation for like, but what I just mean is like things that are maybe a little bit unconventional that work really well that will help a whole bunch of different things quickly.
Resistance training and the right amount of fat in your diet, I found, have been nothing short of drugs. Like, I'm 41 years old and I'm in the best shape of my life, and I don't consider myself to be someone. I'm not a gym rat. I don't like bodybuilding. I mean, I think the art of bodybuilding is rad. I don't want to look like that, but with some basic big compound lifts and resistance training, which every human should be doing, combined with some certain nutrients that you kind of pump a little bit more than others. For me, that's why I take the egg yolks every day. I took my testosterone from at the end of my vegan life, it was around 210, which is clinically bad for a 90-year-old. Now I walk around with it. It will pump into the 1,000 once in a while. It's like in the 980s, 990, which is pretty crazy. And I've never taken anabolic steroids or GH or anything like that. I don't supplement at all. But for me, if you give your body the hormonal precursors, and vitamin D from the sun is a huge hormonal precursor nutrient, the right amount of saturated fat, the right amount of complete proteins, and the right amount of cholesterol mixed with kind of intelligent big compound lifts, to me, that's like, if you want to affect your nervous system, your immune system, your sleep, and the way you look more than anything, if you just did that, you'd make huge progress. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking for men, for women, everybody. It's hard to duplicate, even in nature, what you can do in the gym.
Yeah, right.
Progressive overload, volume of training, specific exercises. And I also think it's really fun, not to get too much into a aesthetic conversation, but I think men, and women, you can manipulate your aesthetics however you want them to be. If you're someone who's more square built and you want that V taper, okay, well, with the right amount of fat and the right amount of cholesterol and the right amount of calories and maybe some intermittent fasting and the right compound lifts, you can create optical illusion of a big back and shoulders and a smaller waist. Your waist didn't change at all, but now you look like you have a tiny waist and big shoulders. And to me, that's fun. Like, hey, guess what, people? You can also look however the heck you want by just hitting the gym 3 times a week, Yeah. That's one of my favorite ones. This one is, again, I'm going to sound like a grandpa here, but my biohack for sleep is don't sleep. Meaning,
what?
people are like, oh, well, I didn't sleep last night, and so I'm just going to kind of like try to take some naps throughout the day, and like I can only fall asleep when like 9 o'clock hits, and it's like, well, it's because your body finally got off the caffeine and finally was unstimulated from the TV at 9 o'clock, and so now your cortisone crashes and your insulin sensitivity is spiking, so you're gonna pass out. Don't pass out. Like, instead, do what Navy SEALs do what farmers do. Go all day, more than you've ever gone in your life, without a break, nonstop, thinking hard, working out hard physically, engaging more in life than you ever have. And I guarantee in less than a week, you will sleep like a freaking baby. Your body will have no choice. You'll be begging for that pillow by the end of the night. But you bring in more television, you bring in more sitting on a couch, you bring in more video games and more phone time, then that hack disintegrates quickly. So for me, I sleep good because I try to engage in life like balls to the wall. Like, if I'm going to be with my family, I'm all in, and I'm not on my phone, and I'm not vlogging, and I'm not worried about work. I'm all in. And when I'm working, my family doesn't exist. My friends don't exist. I'm all in. And when I'm working out, it's kind of like the power of now, Eckhart Tolle type of stuff, where I'm just trying to understand that there's no such thing as anxiety in the moment. The anxiety is when you get out of the moment that you're in, and you're either projecting into the future and it's scaring the shit out of you, or you're reliving old traumas that aren't happening in the moment. And it's like you can escape a lot of that just by being focused on what you're doing. And that doesn't mean you have to work, Gary V, just work more, work more, work more. No, just find things that are actually interesting to you that you can do and engage in them on a deeper level. Those are honestly, those are like my two big ones, and they work really good for me.
That's excellent. I love that. Just push hard, push really hard, be really present, do more than you think you can do, and then do a little more than that. Your body will sleep. You'll be tired. You'll be ready.
And when the time comes, you will actually be able to go to that spot on the beach and chill for the day, because it will actually be needed, and your body will tell you, and you'll be able to be in that moment where you're just like feeling calm and feeling serene and glad to have like a recovery day. And then it gives you the energy to kind of get back to it. I don't know. I have the motto of, for me, I've just found a lot of freedom in checking the things off my list that have to get done. And I find that depression and anxiety all lives in the place. If I'm bored, to me, I don't understand that anymore. Like, how can a human be bored? Being bored, and I don't want to sound judgy, but for myself personally, if I'm bored, it means I'm lazy.
Yeah.
I'm bored with this. I'm bored with these people. I'm bored today. Okay, well, I have a list of shit that needs to get done. Start knocking things out, and you might not really enjoy it, but you won't be bored.
Yeah. There's things for you to do. There's definitely things you can be doing. All of us, everybody listening right now is like, there are some things that I could do. I can.
And I just to kind of clarify things, I don't mean stay busy working constantly and ignore everything else in life. I just mean spend as little time sitting in front of computers and in front of the TV as possible. Like, you're going to die someday, and you're not going to look back and be like, damn, I wish I would have watched season 3 of Mayans. Damn it. You're going to be like, I should have started that ranch, or I should have asked that girl out, or I should have told my parents this, or I should have helped my sister, build that fence because that was the last time I ever saw her. Like, that's the stuff that matters. So like, engage in that, and it's a lot more fun. It's just a lot more real too. It's kind of cheesy, but it's more real.
Yeah, and in order to get to that place where you are prioritizing the things in your life that really deserve your attention, you have to take a look at it. You have to find some tool. Obviously finding a coach is a really great idea. Read, The War of Art, don't eat for a day, go volunteer, do these sorts of things that will sort of like, eat some mushrooms, go walk in the forest, do these things that perturb your consciousness, that shift up your everyday so that you can be like, oh, wait, okay, now I remember what's important to me. Now I remember what I needed to focus on. It's enriching. I think so many folks, to your earlier point, get stuck in the, but I gotta work, and I gotta work 40 or 50 hours a week to pay for childcare, and childcare's this much, and then when I get home, like, all I'm doing is kind of putting my kids to bed, and I feel detached, and it's like, well, what's important to you? What do you want from your life? What do you really value more than anything else? And optimize for that stuff, because you're in charge. Nobody's going to do it for you.
Right. You're in charge for sure. And I think it's the way life is set up is it is challenging. Life is expensive, and it's scary. I can remember working for other people, making other people money on a daily basis. And when you do that, you know that this doesn't feel right. At least for me, I'm just not the type of person that's built to be able to sit at a desk at a certain time every day and be told this is what to do, and if you get this done, you're not going to be rewarded. You just have to do more until 5 o'clock hits, and then you can go. That literally, I'd rather be jobless, homeless, and figure out a way to scrummage trash and figure out a way to do it. That I'd rather do that than be stuck kind of in the rat race. But even even with that said, I know plenty of people, my brother-in-law and my sister, both have more of a tradition. My sister is an entrepreneur, works for herself, but my brother-in-law is a school teacher. But you know what? Like, he has his 9 to 5, and it's something that he's passionate about, and he loves it. And then outside of it, he does as much stuff as he possibly can. And I think you, whatever your situation is, if you're feeling shitty about it, you can change. And that's what I think is,
Yeah.
every moment that goes by is another moment. And I'm stealing this from Fight Club. Every second that goes by is another second to turn the whole damn thing around.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is beautiful about being a human, is you can fulfill your dreams, and it can be scary, but that's the whole point. Like, do the scary thing, try to make your dreams come true.
Yeah.
If not, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, and if you're in this paradigm where you're working towards something and you've got to do the 9 to 5, like, do the 9 to 5, but then when you get home, focus on the things that you love, at night, write poetry at night, trade Bitcoin at night, exercise at night. Your mission and your purpose don't need to be tied to your job. That's very few people. And I think you and I are probably, I know we're grateful, and I know that we both work our asses off to do what we do, but most folks maybe don't have that direct alignment with the way that they make their money is also their life's mission, and also fills them with purpose. And that's okay. That's fine. It's a unique experience. Everyone could potentially go toward that and work toward that. But if that's not your reality, that's fine. But then when you're not working, be seeking other things that do fill you up, that nourish you, that are of value and of service to the world, and be a better parent, be the best you. I mean, this is turning into a very hip hip hooray, or kumbaya in here at the end, but it's all true, man. It's all true.
It is. And I think we're both passionate about it, because I've been on the other side. I've been in that place where I've literally felt like, whoa, I'm going to have to do this forever. Because I was like an uneducated person when it comes to entrepreneurship. Like, I didn't get that any person can start any business they want anytime. I mean, even if you have no money, you can start businesses. Like, boom. I didn't realize that. Like, in my mid-20s, I didn't realize that. Even though I'd have friends that owned a carpet cleaning business, and I was like, well, it must have been magic, or they must have rich parents. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not. It's, everything's available to us, and you just got to really find, you just find what works for you. And if a 9 to 5 is your jam, then rock it out and be great at it. And if it's not, then just stop doing it. Do something else.
Yeah. Be great at it. Yeah. Well, this is phenomenal. There's so much more that we could get into. I like your style, Rob. I like your delivery. I like your vibe. I want to go hiking in Mount Shasta, looking for aliens with you one day.
For sure.
We'll have to do this again. I'd like to circle back around and go a little bit deeper on this stuff. But before we kind of close out, tell people where they can find you on the internet.
Yeah. So on Instagram, my handle is Stuart Rob Stewart. Again, it's spelled Stuart. On the YouTube, it's just Rob Stewart. And then my website's holistichealthactivation.com. And my website is really strictly for people who are looking for coaching. There on the website is my ebook, the 3 Phases Workbook, which is kind of a step-by-step guide for customizing your diet and your lifestyle and your cleansing so that you can heal autoimmune diseases and skin health issues. But I put most of my time and effort into the Instagram and YouTube content and interacting with people there. And yeah, that's where I can be found on the interwebs.
Nice. Now is my last question, which is a fill in the blank question, specifically designed to keep you off guard. So this
Awesome.
can be based on anything. And we, obviously your breadth of knowledge is wide, which I totally dig. So you can elaborate as much or as little as you want, but please fill in the blank. Everyone would benefit from knowing.
Wow. Everyone would benefit from knowing that in life, your reality is created by your own perspective, and that if you want to do something or if you want to be someone, give it a try. You might not like what you see, but then move on and try something else. And it's all about trying things, being honest. And I'm trying not to get too Tony Robbins here, but it just is my flow today, I guess. That's probably it, man. Your life is a beautiful thing, and you're gonna die someday. So make it memorable for everybody involved and loving.
Yeah, right on. Rob, Stuart, thank you so much for joining me today on the Optimal Performance Podcast.
Sean, thanks for having me, bud. I'll come on anytime you want to chat, bro.
And scene. That was awesome.
Thanks, man. You do a really good job interviewing. Appreciate it.